Imagine you're sitting at a kitchen table in an old house. The clock ticks. The curtains hold the late afternoon light like softened glass. Someone across from you keeps refilling the coffee, smiling a little too carefully, as if the smile has a job to do. You hear family stories, the safe ones, the polished ones, the jokes that land on cue. But there's a gap in the conversation, a name that never gets said, a subject that gets redirected before it can fully form, a pause that lasts just long enough to make you feel it.
That's the atmosphere this video is about. Not the kind of secrets people share today. No posts, no confessions, no story time. This is the kind of secret that used to live behind closed doors, in whispers after the kids went to bed, in glances that asked permission.
In America, not every secret was criminal. Not every secret was dramatic. Most of them were human. The hidden struggles, the private disappointments, the painful memories, the unanswered questions.
And once you notice how the silence works, you start seeing it everywhere.
The silence that protected everything is fine. One of the most common secrets involved money.
You picture it now. A father who lost his job and kept showing up anyway, dressed neatly, trying not to let the worry leak into his voice. A farm that could survive if the season was good. Just one good season, while neighbors believed life was steady because the porch light still came on at the same time each night. Visitors didn't see the kitchen table math. They didn't see the bills that gathered like dust. They didn't hear the arguments that never made it past the hallway. Instead, the family carried on, polite smiles, firm handshakes, normal conversation. Pride did the work, and pride can be a kind of shield. It wasn't that people didn't want help. Many just didn't want to be seen needing it. So you learn the old rule: some things are not discussed in public. Not because people were cruel, because they were careful.
2. The relatives who vanished from conversation. Another secret was often about relatives.
Almost every town had someone who suddenly disappeared from family conversations. An uncle, a cousin, a brother, a mother or father sometimes, pulled away from the story the way a sentence gets deleted from a manuscript.
When questions came up, answers were vague, like fog rolling in. He moved away. He's doing fine. Let's talk about something else.
And you can almost hear the unspoken add-on: please don't push. Sometimes the truth was complicated, sometimes painful, sometimes tied to events that were too messy to package into a neat explanation. Over time, the family learned a survival tactic.
3. Health that stayed private, even inside the family. Then there was health.
Serious illness, mental struggle, conditions that today might be discussed openly with empathy and honesty. But in older generations, health was often treated like something you handled quietly, within the family circle. Children were rarely given the full story. Even family members might know pieces, but not the whole picture. You might remember how adults can become careful with words, how they soften a sentence until it becomes harmless, how they say, "She's just not feeling well," when the truth is harder, how they turn away when certain symptoms are mentioned. And neighbors were told even less, because illness wasn't only a medical issue, it was a threat to reputation, to stability, to the image of normal life. Some people believed privacy was dignity. Others believed it prevented shame from spreading. Either way, the silence became a habit, one that lasted longer than the illness itself. 4. Arguments behind perfect church smiles. A family could look happy in public, while everything inside it strained and cracked. You've probably seen a version of this in your own life, the way someone can greet you warmly and still carry something heavy at home. Now imagine that pattern generation after generation. People fought, marriages struggled, Relationships broke down. Sometimes divorce hovered like weather you could feel without understanding it. Sometimes it didn't happen, but the tension stayed. Yet many Americans believed private problems should remain private, as if talking would make the problem larger than it already was.
On Sunday, a family sits in church with matching politeness. They sing the hymns, they greet neighbors, they shake hands, and then afterward, they go home to the parts of life they never described at the dinner table.
When you realize that kind of split personality is a survival strategy, you stop judging as quickly, and you start wondering what it cost.
5. Lost fortunes and the stories that wouldn't come out. Another secret: money that was gone. Not just day-to-day hardship, but lost fortunes. Land sold years ago, businesses that failed, investments that disappeared. Sometimes the family didn't even agree on the story, only that it happened, and only that it left scars.
Older generations often spoke about these losses only among close relatives, like they were handling something fragile. Some stories survived for decades, others vanished completely.
You may think history should be clear, but family history isn't always like books. Sometimes it's more like weather. Everyone remembers it was stormy, but the details drift away. And when the details drift away, silence fills the space. 6. The strange gaps in family history. Then there's one of the strangest secrets: family history itself. You'd be surprised how little many people knew about their own relatives. Grandparents and great-grandparents could become blurry. Questions led to short answers, rushed and careful. Not really. Old times. We don't talk about that. Some people changed names. Others changed towns. A few seemed to appear from nowhere, like a new character added to a story after the earlier chapters were already burned.
Entire chapters quietly disappeared. And in a way, that makes sense. If the past is complicated, if it carries embarrassment, fear, or trauma, then controlling the story becomes a form of control over the present.
7. Debt, shame, and the locked door after dark. Debt was another heavy secret.
Borrowed money carried shame for many Americans. You could feel it in the way people avoided certain conversations, the way they talked about being busy when creditors were knocking, the way they worked harder and harder, as if effort alone could erase the ledger. Neighbors might assume a family was doing fine. The yard could be kept neat, the car might still run. But after dark, the pressure changed hands. Bills waited. Worry sat down in chairs. Fear didn't announce itself. It lived quietly. And debt has a strange power. It doesn't just take money. It takes breath, it takes trust, it takes time you could have spent building something else. So people hid it, not always to cheat anyone, sometimes to protect their family from being judged. There were also secrets about broken friendships, property disputes, business disagreements, arguments between families. In a small town, those conflicts don't just fade, they echo. Sometimes they lasted generations, not because everyone remembered the first reason clearly, but because the emotional residue remained, and because the original argument got turned into a family rule, a warning passed down like an heirloom. Children inherited the silence. They learned which names not to speak kindly about. They learned to keep distance without knowing why. You might call it grudges, but it was often deeper. Fear of repeating damage, fear of reopening old wounds, fear of discovering that the story was uglier than people wanted to admit. Military service and the weight people didn't trade. Military service brought its own kind of silence. Most veterans spoke little about what they experienced. Some refused to discuss it entirely. Family members sensed the painful memories, but respected the quiet, the way you respect a bruise. Because even if you want to help, you can't always fix what you're hearing. And many stories, Stories that could have offered context, closure, or even simple connection were never told. The silence wasn't always neglect. Sometimes it was compassion. Sometimes it was protection. Sometimes it was simply that the memory hurt too much to touch.
10. Letters, locked boxes, and the objects that know too much. Then there were the mysterious family objects.
Old letters tucked into drawers, locked boxes with keys kept in a dependable hiding place, photographs with unfamiliar faces, documents that appeared only when someone was searching for something else.
Children sometimes found these things by accident: an envelope under a mattress corner, a folded note behind a stack of yearbooks, a photograph in a pile that didn't make sense.
And when children asked questions, older relatives often changed the subject, not because they didn't trust the child's curiosity, but because the object carried more than paper. It carried an entire web of decisions, guilt, love, regret, or fear. Revealing it wouldn't just answer a question, it would open a door no one wanted to walk through. Romance secrets, the love that never got a public ending. Some of the most tender secrets involve romance.
Relationships that never happened, or relationships that did happen but ended in ways that couldn't be explained safely. Engagements that ended suddenly. Love letters hidden away for decades. People who loved each other then had to become strangers again, whether by circumstance, choice, or pressure.
Old Americans rarely discussed these matters openly. Even when feelings were real, privacy was treated like an oath. So the memories remained tucked out of sight, not just because of embarrassment, but because romance can change your whole life, and some families believed protecting the present meant keeping the past behind the curtain. 12. Reputation. A good name could matter more than truth. In small-town America, reputation wasn't nice, it was survival. A good name mattered. Families sometimes went to great lengths to protect it. Embarrassing mistakes were hidden, scandals were ignored, or quietly soothed into something less harmful. Difficult truths were buried beneath silence. You can understand the logic even if it feels painful now. If one family falls, others might be affected. If people judge, opportunities shrink. If gossip spreads, safety becomes uncertain. So protecting the family name could feel more important than telling every detail. And sometimes protecting the name meant letting the truth shrink until it fit into a story everyone could tolerate.
13. Migration and the past that didn't fit in the suitcase. Some secrets were tied to migration. People arrived from distant places. They started over. They built new lives, learned new routines, changed how they spoke, and sometimes changed how they remembered. Some never said much about what they left behind, whether it was painful, complicated, or simply personal.
Whether the memories were sorrowful or just private, the past didn't always make it into conversation. Because starting over is already hard, people didn't always want to invite old pain into the new house they were trying to make livable. So they chose silence, the same way you'd choose a locked door when weather is coming.